Doing well, mate. What's going on, mate? You're causing havoc up there in Manchester. What's going on?
Well, no, I don't know. Apparently, you can't tweet now. I'm the biggest problem in Manchester United. Not the Glazers, not the manager. Putting a tweet out as a fan. It's not my fault he liked it, is it? And I'm certainly not apologising for it. I stand by it. I thought it was yeah.
Well, morning, people. Welcome back to the Terrace. Again, I've seen the fan channel community absolutely slammed, attacked, dragged through the mud in the last sort of 48 hours. And sometimes in these circumstances, I like to sit back, take stock, listen to what's being said before I respond, if that makes sense. And I've seen Mark Goldbridge absolutely dragged through the mud because he tweeted an opinion about what Erik ten Hag said about Garnacho. He didn't think that it was right or acceptable. And Garnacho, out of nowhere, agrees and likes a tweet. And ever since then, there's been another pile-on. United stand are toxic, fan cams are toxic, fans on social media are toxic. And I always see the usual suspects that don't like Mark Goldbridge pile on. And I get it. Maybe you're jealous of his success. Maybe he's never invited you on a show. Maybe you DM'd him once and he said no. Whatever the reason is, maybe you just don't enjoy the content he makes. And yeah, of course, there's people on his channel that have said things that I disagree with. He said things that I disagree with, but he's a fan. He's entitled to opinion. You then get the same mainstream media backlash of he's not even really a Man United fan. I mean, these things are just nonsense. Like by now, right, somebody would have come out with a photo or a picture or a video or a friend from his childhood coming out saying, no, he was definitely a Forest fan. Like, these lies are just ridiculous. And it all stems from jealousy, in my opinion.
It's absolutely your opinion. You're entitled to it. Getting back to it, I mean, is that how you feel? Do you think he was subtly blaming Garnacho, who, incidentally, Jeff and I have already said this morning, we think's been one of the stars for Manchester United?
Yeah. I mean, look, you do say things in a game that is heat of the moment. We've all been there. But look, that was after the game. I didn't really understand the substitution. And I don't think I misinterpreted it. He said twice there was a problem down the right-hand side. Garnacho did make two mistakes that led to the goal. And I think it was subtly calling out Garnacho for not having a good game. My problem with that is that I've seen Casemiro, Rashford and other more experienced players be bad for Manchester United for a long, long time. And I felt that you've got a 19-year-old who's been good for us this season. And I thought I thought he was, basically calling him out. And I thought it's a bit inconsistent because you don't do that with everybody else. And that was my point, really.
And you're absolutely, look, you're right, Mark. He's been one of their best players this season. There's no question. And he is 19. He's almost 20, but he's not a kid. He's played more than 50 times for Manchester United. He's got 5 full caps for Argentina. And I ask you the question, was he doing enough work defensively in that first half of Bournemouth?
I think that, well, certainly with the first goal, I think Rasmus lays the ball into him and he loses it, and that directly leads to Solanke going in. So it's a mistake.
And do you know what it is? He deserves to be criticised. But I agree with Mark. I disagree with Samuel Luckhurst's view on this, that the manager kind of threw him under the bus a little bit, and he didn't need to. He didn't need to single him out. We've been annoyed when the manager done that to other people, so it's absolutely right. The irony in people blaming Mark is that Garnacho himself agreed. In the moment, I know he's unliked it now and apologised, but in the moment, he felt exactly the same. So people saying Mark's toxic because he interpreted it wrong, Garnacho interpreted it that way as well. So again, you're not toxic just because you don't share the same opinion. But again, Mark Goldbridge, just like many other people in this industry, gets blamed, and I just find it so interesting, so strange that so many people in the same industry jump on the hate United stand bandwagon. Don't they realize you're actually damaging like your own? If you manage to get the mainstream to shut someone like Mark down, you're cutting your own nose off to spite your face. It's crazy to me.
Nice.
It'd be a massive blow if they weren't, wouldn't it?
Yeah, they're vital. They're absolutely vital to us tonight. And as I said, I've got I was feeling a bit down after the Villa game, but since getting over here in Munich, I've got a good feeling about tonight. I just feel that after those games last night, it shows. You know, I mean, these ties are not over yet. You know, and I've just got a funny feeling tonight's going to go to penalties. I don't know. I've just got that feeling. I think Bayern are going to have to be more on the front foot. They're playing at home. They were very defensive last week and catching us on the counter. I think it might be kind of the other way around tonight.
How are Arsenal fans feeling about tonight? I know how rivals feel. I know how neutrals feel. They're all back in Bayern Munich. I'll be very open. I think Bayern Munich myself are going to go through. Since the Villa defeat, I've barely seen Arsenal fans online. We have a lot that follow the football terrace, you know, and I'm very grateful of their support and their viewership and everything else. But everyone's been very quiet. Everybody's kind of sunken off into a darkened corner. Robbie's out there. He's feeling confident. I've watched some content and footage from out in Munich, and the Arsenal fans there are building up a little bit of excitement now. We're less than 12 hours away from the match when I'm recording this. How are Arsenal fans feeling? How do you feel about tonight? Because I've said all week, there's been a crazy overreaction to the Villa defeat, a ridiculous overreaction. People that said Arsenal wouldn't even be in the title race, the manager would be sacked by December, are kicking off and angry that they've blown an opportunity, which they didn't even think they would get. That seems strange to me. People that have said this manager's world class, this team can win it all, well, with the two competitions they're in, have thrown both out the window because of one defeat. I find both reactions mad. I really do. Now, I know I'm not emotionally invested because I'm not an Arsenal fan, even though the trolls continue to say it. Doesn't deter me from speaking the truth. How do you feel? Are you on Robbie's side here? Robbie stated that Arsenal's journey in the Champions League will not end tonight. Who agrees with that? I want to cultivate your opinion on this. I want to garnish the content with your views surrounding this. Does anybody see Arsenal doing it? And I want your comments now before the game. And then I want to see the energy afterwards, whether you're right, whether you're wrong. I'd love to get that from you. I am going with Bayern Munich winning the tie narrowly. I don't know if it's in 90 minutes, extra time, penalties. I don't care. I think Bayern Munich will take the tie. But so some of that for me is the way Arsenal fans have been the last few days. I don't expect you to go into this arrogant, but I do expect you to go into this with some standards. I do expect you to go into this with an air of confidence, an air of expectation, an air of we can do this. I think your players need it. But it's your club. It's entirely up to you. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you feel in the comments section below.
But they have had costs that are exceptional. And so it is fine to add those back. The more...
Is it okay to sell these two hotels to one of their own companies?
Well, look, we'll see. I mean, at the moment, it appears that they haven't actually had it approved by the Premier League. Now, this is obviously a moving story. The accounts that we saw on Saturday morning said that as of the end of December, when those accounts were signed off, they had not yet had approval by the Premier League of that transaction. They also stated that if the approval wasn't given, it would have a material impact on the accounts that they had published. And what they mean by a material impact, clearly, is that there is a very substantial possibility. A possibility of a very substantial adjustment being required to that 76 million. I would posit that they passed financial fair play in 22-23 only if they get the vast majority of that 76.5 million pounds, such that if it is rejected by the Premier League after a process, and I've just got some timings on that in a moment, but if it is rejected, then they will fail 22-23 after all.
And then they'll appeal it.
I don't think Chelsea are going to fail it. And I know some Chelsea fans get frustrated about this subject being discussed, but I think it's really important to talk about it. I think they're going to get the market value approved. What I do think is a little bit off is that you're meant to get approval within 48 hours of the transaction being agreed, and the Premier League within 10 days has to say yes or no. It's been somewhere between 6 to 9 months, and there still isn't official approval on these transactions. And where I'd say that's off is not a dig at Chelsea. This is not Chelsea's fault. You've got other teams that have had points deductions because of breaches, but you've got a Chelsea transaction which has stopped them from that, and the Mason Mount transfer that went into last season, not this season, by the way, not the 23-24, but the 22-23 season. That hasn't still been approved. So I understand Everton fans, Forest fans, Leicester fans being frustrated at that. And I agree with that element, but that doesn't make it a bad on Chelsea. Chelsea have submitted their information. The Premier League haven't approved it and haven't charged them or haven't sent it to an independent adjudication. So that's not Chelsea's fault. And I wouldn't blame them for it. What I do think is very interesting is this, that there is no chance in hell that they're not going to get market value agreed. It's going to happen. And it isn't against the rules to sell an asset internally. It isn't against the rules to keep the market, the income from that business either. Those things are just not the case. The question is, does the Premier League need to do something about this to stop more of it in the future? And how do Chelsea stop themselves from getting back into financial issues? Remember, they have to still sell. A lot of people are talking about there's still reportedly a big 100 to 200 million pound black hole for the end of the 22-23 campaign. These hotel sales, according to this report here, the Mason Mount sale, they all went into last year's accounts. Let's take a little listen here to some more about how Chelsea avoid more problems in the future.
What do you think of the sale of the 2 hotels to another of Bullion and Bally's companies? Is it cute? Is it cheeky? Or is it taking the mick?
It's an asset that Chelsea have within their portfolio of assets. To me, it often amazes me if Manchester City knew what was coming, that they wouldn't have bought Manchester City in a different way, loaded it with a lot of assets, and then found themselves getting around some of the problems that they've inherited as a result of their desire to be successful. And that would perhaps be with the benefit of hindsight. I don't have a view on it. If it's fair market value, which would be the argument, if that property is worth, or those properties are worth £76 million, with due respect, then that's the argument. Now, whether it's being sold to a Bowley company, you will take the revenue streams out, so Chelsea going forward won't have the benefit of the revenue streams if those hotels are profitable. You're laughing.
Yeah, because they've been smart.
Yeah.
Because if you go to the hotel accounts, they've sold the asset
and kept the income streams.
Yeah, they've given themselves a management contract, so they don't even lose the income stream.
Well,
listen, again, it sounds bad, but if it's within the rules, I'm taking. The more I read and listen about this story, the more I'm on Simon Jordan's side with this. I don't have a view on it. If it's within the rules, there's no problem whatsoever.
clever accountancy.
Well, it is. Except,
What is it?
And this is why I maintain the view that the private equity guys weren't going to be caught with their pants down, maybe in the instant and the immediate term. You know, Devon was always going to be right. The challenge was going to be about if the lack of income was coming in as a result of failure to achieve on the pitch, and they weren't selling players. There's going to be challenges. But these boys aren't stupid.
They're not stupid. Stefan, is this within the spirit of the rules? Do they care if it is or not?
Well, it may be a bit more than the spirit of the rules. So there's two things. Simon's right. On the face of it, that all they need to do is prove fair market value. But this is a property transaction. We know how you prove fair market value in property transactions. It's really quite simple. They get a couple of valuations. Yeah. This is very, very mainstream property. This is central London prime property. This is not difficult to value. So there's no question that they can get the pieces of paper that say on the face of it, it's fair market value. Yeah.
Well, it's the two hotels at Stamford Bridge, right? The Millennium and the Clockthorpe.
Yeah. So let me ask Simon then. How come it's taken 9 months for them not to approve it on that basis?
Well, that's a $64 million question. And it's interesting to see why the Premier League aren't commenting on themselves, because, you know, there's ambiguity there. It's very clear, easy to clear.
Yeah, and that's the element that's true. What this really boils down to is this. It's going to be approved. There's almost a certainty around it. Chelsea just need to become better on the football pitch. That's it. That's where Chelsea's problems will arise in the future. I don't know how many more assets they have to sell, how many more hotels, how much more land they have. There's probably some more they can do if next season is as poor as this campaign. Remember that they are going to sell players, which is going to help them with the 2023-24 accounts, but they've got to buy people as well. And they are running out of these assets. But I think in the very short term, Chelsea are in a good position now. This, by the way, is completely separate to the other investigation that is going on, but it's all about results on the football pitch now. And that is what Chelsea fans have got to get their minds on, is results there to ensure the finances are okay. But look, I love your views and your opinions on this. Are you in agreement with it? Do you think it's fair play? Chelsea fans, how do you feel about it? Listen, until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again soon. Peace.